there are many games whose origins and raison d'etre are rooted in free-form open-world experiences. It's hard to imagine a Grand Theft Auto, Elder Scrolls, or Fallout game set to a linear or carefully orchestrated pace, and a game like Minecraft would flat out be impossible in that type of environment. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and click on the links in the description to vote on upcoming content. The term open world has almost become a turn off for many gamers, rather than something that gets them excited. More and more, new games and sequels to existing franchises are going the open world route, to the point where that's starting to feel like the default state for every AAA title. Whether due to technological restrictions or budget constraints or too much ambition, open world games often come with concessions. When the player is free to go almost anywhere right from the start, it's hard to deliver a cohesive narrative and an engaging story. The more things you allow your players to do in the world, the more the game has to stretch itself to accommodate all of these options and features. It's for this very reason, the fact that so many games need to make these sacrifices, that CD Projekt Red's 2015 role-playing game, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, is, in our opinion, the greatest open world game of all time. Of course, this is a bold claim, but that's the name of the show, right? When WatchMojo ranked the top 10 best open-world games way back in 2014, we gave the #1 spot, deservedly, to Rockstar Games' 2013 sandbox, Grand Theft Auto V. Since then, however, the underdog Polish developer CD Projekt Red managed to pull off something even more amazing. They took a series that had, until now, been a relatively linear story-driven RPG with explorable hub areas and turned it into a massive, highly detailed and immersive open space. The game also came out right before open world fatigue began to set in.
It's grey and veiny, got a scar, and eyes like a viper.
And the idea of a linear franchise now going open world was still exciting. There are other franchises that tried to make the leap to open world that haven't been as successful. The Prince of Persia and Thief series both took a stab at non-linearity and failed pretty spectacularly. With the former, giving players the option to traverse the levels in any order removed the difficulty curve of an already easy game, and made it feel repetitive and uninteresting. The latter, Thief Deadly Shadows, made the levels a lot larger with optional areas and different ways to approach them. It was still an okay game, but not as good as its predecessors because the openness took away from what the series was recognized for: carefully structured and detailed environments. The Thief series helped pioneer what is now called the immersive sim. So, trying to translate that into an open world pulled the rug out from underneath the franchise, and ultimately, the game's lackluster success led to the cancellation of Thief 4.
Phew, glad that's over.
That is at its core what is so impressive with The Witcher 3. You get the sense that its existence as an open world game is the game's default state. Unlike many other contenders for the greatest open world game of all time, it never feels like the Wild Hunt had to sacrifice what made the first two games so well recognized: their well-told story, core gameplay, well-developed characters, and attention to detail. Just look at this spot right here. The road is so worn out from weather and its use that this little section can no longer be traversed, so the grass next to it is trampled down from other travelers going around the obstacle. I just think that's really cool for one thing, but everywhere you look in the game, you find details just like this. Possibly the most important aspect of an open world game, the thing that it needs to pull off in order to justify its existence as such, is the world design and navigation. What an open world gives players is the opportunity to say, no, I don't want to do that mission or quest right now. I want to go over that hill and see what's over there. In The Witcher 3, there is always something for the player to find. And it's often not just a pack of wolves or a collectible, but a unique environment. A space that's carefully constructed within its own story, and characters that often contribute to the world as a whole. And that, in and of itself, is amazing and sure as hell ain't easy. Think about the first time you arrive in Skellige and start exploring the cold, harsh environments, or the excitement of tracking down and fighting some new monster.
The Fiend.
All of these moments feel unique. They feel like they were carefully constructed, yet they're part of your personal story within a story.
Geralt, help me smash that! We're sure to reach the Giant's Cave this way.
The line between what is a side quest and what is part of the main narrative sometimes gets really blurry. That's because the quality of every experience, optional or otherwise, is polished at such a fundamental level that exploration and questing becomes something you want to engage in. And very little feels like a chore. you want to push forward not just to further these stories of the interesting characters, but to actively take part in an adventure that connects them, and you, to the world itself. The flexibility players have when blazing their own trail also carries over into the action. CD Projekt Red didn't just apply this all-in mentality to the world and story, but every game aspect of the game itself was carefully designed, tested, massaged, and perfected. Every entry in the Witcher series improved on the core gameplay mechanics of its predecessor, and The Witcher 3 represents the best of everything the franchise has to offer to date. The combat is deeper and more elaborate with a new dodge mechanic, there's more fluid animations, better enemy AI, improved magic, improved crafting, and honestly, there's just too much to list off. Instead, let's just jump into the DLC, because that rocks too. In the current gaming climate of loot boxes, DLC, and microtransactions, it's almost unfair how much CD Projekt Red has given to its fans since The Witcher 3 was released in 2015. The game now seems perfectly timed, narrowly avoiding the microtransaction climate that plagues AAA gaming, while also sidestepping the pitfalls of open world fatigue that we also talked about earlier. Here, you get what you pay for, so none of the base game content is hidden behind a paywall, besides all the free DLC they released, which consists of small items like new armor sets, minor quests, and a few Gwent cards. The paid expansions, Hearts of Stone, and more importantly, Blood and Wine, have so much content that they're practically games in and of themselves.
The virtues we cultivate were bestowed upon us. They became a code, our code.
This business model of pay once for everything is slowly starting to disappear, and it's entirely possible that The Witcher 3 will be the last best game of its species. There are many open world games out there, with more to pick from almost every day. But looking at the core aspects of what these games need and struggle with, story, characters, immersion, freedom, and gameplay, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt really is the complete package. All of the elements work together and communicate with themselves and with the player for an experience that is vast, unique, and exciting. There's always something of value around every corner, and everything Wild Hunt accomplishes, from its story to the immersion, world building, and exciting gameplay, makes this a surprisingly easy choice for the greatest open world game of all time. So, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree. What is your favorite freeform experience and why? This kind of thing is really important to us, and we want to hear from you, so let us know. Thanks for watching MojoPlays. Be sure to subscribe and click on the link in the description below to check out our suggestion page and vote on what content you'd like to see us cover next.